Hello, everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast as part of a PH4 report. This audio podcast is part of a SZtorm. This audio podcast is part of a Bedlam Clobber. This audio podcast is part of a Storm Robotics production. In this audio podcast, I look at sort of healthcare professionals or health professionals and sort of the role around the role and then around the role around the role for those with for those around gambling with around gambling in around gambling. So healthcare professionals are sort of recognized in utilizing the World Health Organizations sort of sort of guidelines framework or guidelines to highlight the screening approaches for gamblers in across varying sort of settings, often in amongst in around the primary healthcare sector. Gambling can coincide with substance abuse disorders and generally remains sort of unknown. Generally remains sort of unknown, and it is commonly neglected by individuals, and around sort of well-being practitioners, as well as healthcare professionals. Um, in sort of piloted works from 2016, an author found many had identified many gambling studies revealed a number of therapists from various disciplines, including well-being sort of nurses, clinical psychologists, social workers, and counselors offering treatment, uh, um, off, offering treatment. However, there are few sort of well-being practitioners treating there are few sort of there are few uh, sort of well-being practitioners treating problem gamblers. A good evidence of efficacy have been evidenced in Canada and the United States, carrying three simple brief gambling interventions, uh, uh, three uh, three three simple sort of brief gambling interventions. Authors were retrospectively from 2004 informed screening tools that would help achieve this for non-specialists and well-being practitioners and general practitioners. In hindsight, it would be it would be sort of advantageous for sort of well-being practitioners to take 10 to 15 minutes once a patient is screened as sort of a positive. And the three sort of steps to implement include: number one, sort of looking at sort of understanding the terms and conceptualizations in around gambling or of gambling. Number two, looking at the sort of the harms the harm or harms involved to problem gambler or gamblers. And number three, looking at simple applied procedures to reduce gambling. So, for example, reduction of day or time spent on gambling. In works by authors in 2016, have a works informed a lack of sufficient sort of interaction by the National Health Service or the NHS and integrated care pathways to help problem gamblers across the United Kingdom. and there is reported to be there is reported to be sort of a poorer protocol service integrated in care pathways. Further recommendations and encouraging sort of potential well-being and sort of care well-being sort of practitioners to sort of train and extend sort of this skill bases and integrate in interventions integrate sort of the interventions and and sort of treatments for um, and treatments for that sort of the treatments that would be advantageous for sort of gambling addicts. That draws this audio podcast to a close. This audio podcast is part of a PH4 report. This audio podcast is part of a SZtorm, and this audio podcast as part of a Bedlam Clubber, and this audio podcast as part of a Storm Robotics production.